it's Nepal. I get feedback from Nepal. Okay, I get feedback in almost every country in Africa, uh, South America, almost Mexico, everywhere except two countries, China and Russia. Okay, don't get any feedback from China and Russia. And maybe if you still have some friends over in Russia, you can ask them, Sasha, are they able to get IBM TV? And if not, then we're being what I call blocked. Okay, and I've been blocked before.
Good question. I will definitely.
Yeah, check it out. And I've been blocked before because Facebook blocks me every now and then when I try to ask. I don't know if you guys get this, when I start going to all these groups and stuff and asking about IBM TV. If I ask too many questions on Facebook, I get blocked. Okay, and I'm going like,
yesterday.
It happened to you yesterday. Yeah, Facebook has become our best ally and also a very difficult ally. Okay, because they're best because they have all these groups that you can go to, and you can invite them on IBM TV, and a lot of people will show up. That's the good part. The bad part is Facebook will arbitrarily block you if you invite too many groups. Just block you like that. Or if they don't like how you invited people, they'll block you like that. So we have our own sort of control here through Facebook, which is the world's largest social media network. So it's really good, and then also it's a challenge. But since they are able to block, I was just thinking, well, are we being blocked in China, mainland China? Obviously not Hong Kong, or Rakesh would never be here. Are we being blocked in Russia? And if so, how? I'm not even sure how they block the internet, but I'm sure there's got to be a tech way to go, oh, IBM TV, we don't like. They talk about American things, click, and they shut us off. But talk to your friends in Russia, because, even though I was over there, and I played chess, obviously, you got to do that when you're in Russia.
Yeah, I think chess part probably has a good chance to do some inroads in Russia.
Yeah.
Let me ask you something about, since we're talking about alliance between US and Russia, and maybe even become one country. I want to remind you a couple of things. Number one is, many years ago, the province of Quebec in Canada, they had a referendum about going solo, to be no longer part of Canada, to be independent country. Mm-hmm. Okay, so there was a referendum in Quebec on that, and the separatists, so-called, they got 49.78%. So they lost the referendum by 0.22 points. So obviously they said that they are going to prepare another referendum in 2 years with the same question. Now, nobody expected such a close result, so everybody started to look into this more closely. And economists actually divided all the national debt between all the provinces, including Quebec and so on. And it became evident that Quebec, for economical reason only, they cannot be independent country, because they will collapse under huge deficit and debts and many other things. And no more referendum ever being held on the separation. Although they have obviously different language, they have different culture, different way of life, I would say. Yeah, more European in some ways. And so that issue was dropped dead. Now, another situation happened when Czechoslovakia, they made a referendum to split into two states, Czech Republic and Slovakia. Now, mind you, it's a very small country. They speak almost the same language. They have almost the same culture. Now, Czech is a little bit more Western influence culture, and Slovakia more Eastern influence. Still, it was the same country for so many years. Now, they're both doing relatively well. Czech Republic is doing very well, and that was expected. But Slovakia is doing quite well too. Mm-hmm. So that worked out. Now, when two countries would unite instead of dividing, so as you propose, United States and Russia, okay, everything is possible in this world, and even this is possible. But now, what are the grounds for making it the same country? what are the economic, cultural, historical, just name it, political, name it at least one reason why it would be beneficial to both countries, and what one country and then another one will gain out of it. Let's see what US would gain out of the becoming one country with Russia.
First of all, I mean, we actually supported them. We were allies in this thing called World War II, in case you didn't know. And we sent a bunch of people over there to fight on their grounds through Archangel. This is years ago. The other thing is they do have good art. They do have scientists like we do. In other words, and we did some joint ventures with them, like on the space shuttle. And one thing about Russia, they have a large amount of engineers. They're heavy into engineering. I mean, the thing is engineering and math, and those are really big topics over them. So I think there's a lot of commonality, common ground that we could use. Our chess players are not near as good as they are over there, but we're working on that, as you notice, because what we do is we recruit our chess players internationally. So we have several of the best players in the world because they come from all over the world. So I think there's a lot of common ground that could actually take place between the U.S. and Russia, and frankly, almost with every country, as long as you seek common ground. See, if you seek to be antagonistic, guess what you're going to find is antagonism. If you seek common ground, you're going to find common ground. I mean, it's just the natural way of life. For me personally, I don't care who built the buildings over there, but I will tell you the artwork was great at the Hermitage. The food wasn't that great, except the desserts were good. The city is absolutely gorgeous, and I'm talking about St. Petersburg, Russia. And the thing is, the vast majority of people are very nice. You do have your pickpockets. I did get pickpocketed, and the guy who pickpocketed me only made like $20 because I don't carry cash. I carry all these bloody credit cards that we canceled and couldn't use them. I mean, it was like he was wasting his time. But you always have that element no matter where you go. So I think there's a lot of opportunities if people are willing to look for opportunities. It's just like our relationship with India. Yes, Ajit.
Yeah, I was coming back to the question what Kim asked.
Mm-hmm.
Russia and China, in terms of media and transparency, I look at it that if we are traveling to Russia, at least we get to use our cell phones, we get to use our Facebook or whatever social media or even Google. But in China, transparency is very low. Media is not at all free. You have to struggle for your own internet. Even at the times, you cannot use Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, anything and everything. They have a Chinese version of it. At this stage of time, when you are looking about Corona and the other thing, I look at this non-transparency as an issue because in initial days, if you look at the January 2020, when initial detection about Corona was there, it was not across the globe. It was only limited to Wuhan, but the actual news did not came out to the globe. They managed to press it, and when people who were infected, they traveled across the globe, then it reaches the globe. So right now, if I see the world has learned something from this non-transparency of media issue, tomorrow a country like Russia, I am including North Korea also because it's also in the same pattern. It would be very difficult for a company like China to survive if they would not allow a very basic standard of world utilization, transparency, what they are doing with the natural resources, what they are doing, what kind of R&D they are doing on the human and the body and the DNA and the virus. So this sort of very basic information need to come out into the global media. It should not be pressed by the government and its politics. We all have right to know this, and if a country does not allow, I think it's not my learning alone. The entire globe has learned this, that if you do not allow a very transparent media and a very transparent reporting system, then people would hesitate to allow your flight to land in our cities, in our country, and also to travel and to have a trade with such countries.
Yeah,
but I think the Indian transparency ratings have also fallen.
What do you mean ratings have fallen?
The media transparency ratings for India have fallen.
Yeah.
Obviously, any country. I'm not
Yes,
saying about
yes.
one
No,
country.
I think what you need is what I call reasonable transparency, because
And we have to fall in the same line, because in coming generation, when these countries, not these only, all countries who are going to go through the elections, it is very difficult for a right wing or a left wing or an economist or a socialist or a leftist to win elections. Only people who are going to win elections are environmentalists, who are going to give you a very robust and very strong promise that we are not going to let happen a Corona episode part 2. And it's only possible with the transparency, with a proper care, and with a very pragmatic approach towards research and towards development of, I think, immunity or some kind of physical fitness of people to immune over the virus, any type of virus.
Today, even in a country like New Zealand, the Greens are the weakest party. Even in a country which is so aware like New Zealand, and I've seen this trend over the elections, the Greens are the weakest.
Mhm.
So, it's going to take some time before we get into this.
There is no time left. And if you look at the air travel, what Alexander said, that the air travel price has gone very high. Why it has gone very high? Because people are not ready to die. Neither the ground staff or the airport staff or the crew member are going to die. So the plane which was carrying 30 people, it may carry 10 people now. But the cost of operation would remain same and maybe higher than that. People who will be traveling, the number of people will reduce because of the distancing, social distancing, physical distancing, whatever you say. And in these scenarios, when you have to do an installation and you have to maintain a database, international database of people that I am infected with these sort of virus infection, and if I want to travel to a country, the country has a right to allow your travel, not only on the basis of visa or on the basis of their diplomatic relationship with my country, but also on the basis of health, that what kind of virus, what kind of bacteria I'm carrying into their country. And these kind of transparency would not be limited to a test which you have done in your country. They will test you at the airport. There are lots of airports which I have heard are doing installation of entire setup to scan a person from tip to toe, and then they will allow you. Before that, we had to, I think, 4 or 5 parameters of allowing a visa to a country, that whether the person who is entering my country should not be wanted by the Interpol, and it should not be blocked by our immigration, and he should have sufficient money in the account, etc. But right now, the physical fitness and the clean test report is very important. Every country is going to do this.
Mm-hmm. We have a question from our viewer. How is it in South Aka? Is that how you pronounce it?
South Asia, I think. South Asia.
Aceh is a province in Indonesia.
Oh, South Asia, right? Or I don't know.
Not Asia. It is Aceh. It is a province in Indonesia.
Okay.
Which is
Oh, it is. Okay, good. I needed some education from our panel. So, where is South Aka?
Aceh is the place in Indonesia where the tsunami hit.
Got to get my globe out.
Where the
Go to Malaysia. Okay, go to our Malaysia expert.
What was the question, Bud?
Okay, Reina, you're the Malaysia expert, so you're going to have to get to that.
But basically, first thing first, I just want to introduce some of the things, because this discussion is very interesting. But some of the people representing China, some of the people representing India, even from Russia and the USA, we get a very combine of things. First thing first, I just want to give you this answer. Actually, for Indonesia, I think they're trying their level best. But what we are talking about, this transparency, information, so a lot of media issue, everything is important. Even though for Indonesia, I think that they need to collaborate. Like example, they can even collaborate with Taiwan, they can collaborate with even Vietnam, even Malaysia. They are trying to do so. Even most importantly, from China, actually China, they are helping this kind of country. In Malaysia, they're helping a lot. that is the fact, for controlling this COVID-19 with their expert, even though they have a commitment for vaccine. Second things, so this kind of country, because Indonesia have a lot of peoples, so as they have a lot of peoples, controlling these things is difficult. Second thing, actually, economy is important, because example, how actually USA people thinks, like Indonesian people or Indonesian family, they cannot continue their business in same way. Even how Malaysia they can operate, Indonesia also cannot operate in the same way. But there are some interesting things, like example, media, this, that, everything is important. But my question is that, like, a lot of things happening around the world, right? Lot of information, lot of research, lot of guideline. Actually, where people get the genuine informations. Now people actually have a lot of, with the help of social media, even every time, from government, parliament member, even from journalists, from even, I'm very want to give you information, but like a researcher, everybody is actually confused what's going on around the world. So media is important. I just want to finish. Just media is important, but issue is that we need to be reliable media. We need reliable information. Even this is the expectation from IBM TV, from my side. Like, we need a reliable information, and which is helpful for human being. And most importantly, like example, when a economy actually grow, I'm actually very interested about economy and this kind of thing. Let's say USA now, that heavily depend on their vaccination and this kind of things from India, like even chloroquines and these things. Even what I know that Pune, they are producing vaccine with the collaboration of Oxford University. Even China, they're doing a lot of research, this, that. Even if we look professionally, like when this kind of exclusive research happen, like example, it's under non-disclosure agreement, maybe it will not go public. Okay, this is the reality we have to understand professionally. So what we can do, our government playing a very important role, every government. And if they want to share their information which is valid and which is helpful, we should. But definitely we need some sort of even guideline for media. Now I do not know, even many people do not know what's going on around the world. So
nobody knows what's going on.
Okay, yes.
Nobody knows what's going on.
Yeah, but media is important. Media
at the country level. This crisis is at the international global level. That whatever development or whatever achievement which we used to call is a development, it's an advancement, everything has failed. All formula and all formulation has failed. People are dying, mostly into those rich countries where we thought that the healthcare system and their hospitalization and their diagnosis system was very high. So when such kind of very established factor they fail, then we have the journey inward, and we have to really think about where we went wrong. And when entire globe is thinking same, then the crisis is not only on the basis of the country, that your country and you need information or a very clear, genuine knowledge from your government. It can be an international requirement of your government also, that they need to understand where do we go and what we ask. I'm bringing back the panel on a very different note, that at this stage of time, I think Rakesh and me have discussed this point little before. We were thinking how we started and the research and development which entire humankind which we did in last, I don't know, 1,000 or 5,000 years, is how did life started on the earth. We never focused enough time and enough energy or enough money or R&D to understand how we all are going to die. This is a situation where you have gotten 1 gram. The total weight of coronavirus is less than a gram, which has created so much havoc across the globe. And that 1 gram is telling you that we have a size, we have a shape, and we have a number. If we cross that number, if we enter into territory of animals, into forest, into space, inside the water, inside the sea, then there is something which can actually put us back in our home. And it took only 1 gram for the nature to do that. And right now, if you are seeing that the conflict between your survival and the nature is very clear, is very one-to-one in front of each other, then who is going to help you? Only a country, only an ideology which can help you is an ideology which teaches you to live with the nature. If you cannot live with the nature, if you do not understand how to live with the nature, how to maintain a balance, then there is nothing which you can do with this. No matter how many hospitals and how many ambulances and how many ventilators you have, still people will die. So in this stage of time, I see India as a coming very new hub for the knowledge. India has always been pioneer in telling people how to live in balance with the nature. Look at the Jainism, look at the Buddhism, look at the Hinduism. All very close to nature religions has came from India. And at this stage of time, if you look at yoga, if you look at naturopathy, if you look at Ayurvedic, all natural herbs and all sciences which we used to practice 5,000 maybe 4,000 years back used to tell us how are we going to chew food, what we should eat, what we should not eat. And if you look at the strength of people, the strength of our ancestors who used to wear lots of heavy armors and then sword, and then they used to jump and sit on the horses. What they were eating, what were the lifestyle, what yoga they were doing, what kind of mental exercise they were doing. These all are the knowledge reservoirs which India has, and it is not only useful for India now, it is also useful for the world. Look at the yoga, it is world famous right now. If you look at Ayurvedic, if you look at naturopathy, I can count the number of things which India has given to world, and it also brings an economic opportunity right now to do a repackaging, revisiting of our own Vedic culture and knowledge and give it back to the world. Because this is something which is terrible. This is telling us that the direction which we were heading is the wrong direction. Over to you.
Yeah, well, what happened in India gave us a great person called Ankit, who has his 1.3 billion Facebook followers. So that's helped out pretty well. But also, aren't we seeing a change because of social media? In other words, like even the program we're doing on IBM TV really couldn't be done very well 20 years ago because you guys can beam in from all over the world. We can all be together real time. And that just didn't exist. And the other thing is because of the flights, in other words, the cost of flying has actually gone down. Like I checked going to visit Ankit in New Delhi. I go to Orbitz all the time. It's like $700 round trip. I mean, for $350, I can go to New Delhi from Raleigh, Durham. I mean, that's halfway across the world. Well, what's happened because of the cost of going down, we're drawn closer to India and China and places around the world because they're more accessible than they were years ago. In other words, so what's happening also in the media, because we're able to break through using the World Wide Web into media, where before, even the United States, there was no way you could break into media because it was all controlled by CBS, ABC, NBC, and that was it. And so our media opportunities are a lot greater than they were years ago. And this is going to, I think, force governments to recognize that there are people out there. In other words, there are people from around the world out there, which right now they don't really want to recognize, or some of the governments don't want to recognize. And they're going to have to deal with a vast army of people out there that they didn't have to. Even Malaysia, like it's good to see Reno on Malaysia, because our information here in the United States when it comes to Malaysia, nothing. In other words, like that place in Malaysia, Aachen, or what the name was. I was sitting there going, where is that? Is that in India? Is that in China? Where the heck is that place? Of course, you knew right away, but we don't get much. Like I said, Malaysia doesn't get much press here in the USA, so it's I'm just learning it as I go, and it's not like I haven't received a lot of formal education in the United States, but there was no special on Malaysia here, so it's all news to me. And I think what you're going to see with social media, we're going to see some breakdowns as people are going to recognize other countries, other cultures, other environments, except maybe for China and Russia as soon as they get on board. And I think eventually they're going to have to, because maybe they can block us from the World Wide Web now, but they're not going to be able to do that forever. You know, ultimately.
least in Asia, I guess.
What?
It would happen at least in Asia. And it's a very good thing which you told that in US, the media which you guys are doing live, was earlier it was controlled and now it's free. I think it's the only thing which will take United States far ahead, even ahead than us, because Rakesh was just before sometime when I was speaking, he was talking about freedom of press and freedom of media in India and Asia. Right,
Sure.
Rakesh?
Yeah.
If you have something very specific, we'll be able to talk it.
Yeah.
Well, it is just something I read in the news, and that was a Indian newspaper which said that there is an organization that rates transparency, government transparency, media transparency, media freedom, and India had actually dropped on that, which means it was losing something. So I was just talking about that. It's but eventually technology will drive greater freedom of information. And even in the most controlled countries on earth, there are VPNs and things like that. People find a way to find out.
Right. Oh,
So
that's what I think.
Satellites, many things.
I agree with you.
Things.
Eventually, they're going to break.
And Ankit are the live example with us on the panel of a free press and free media. Whatever they wish to do alive, and whenever they want to relay and broadcast something, they can do that. But coming back to Rakesh, I have one concern regarding these international organizations who do a global ranking. I'm including WHO also into that, because WHO, what was the role of WHO? It was World Health Organization. It was their role to warn us before the COVID-19 virus spread from China to the world. They did a very terrible work in terms of giving an early warning to the world. They knew lots of things. They were involved into lots of the research which was happening into China. They also gave them grants. They also have their diplomatic relationship with China. But how come they missed it? And if you are talking about the organization who are doing transparency research on Indian media, they should also look at the kind of international awards which is being given to journalists, the kind of political vendetta they manage. We had recently, few days back, we have Pulitzer Awards. I don't know how do I pronounce it? Pulitzer Awards, and it was given to 3 journalists who were giving a narrative. The award was holding a narrative that India has occupied Kashmir, and it has forcefully entered into the territory of Kashmir. And then people who are there, they're clicking photographs, and for clicking their photographs, they have given an award. So what kind of narrative they are trying to set is not neutral. If somebody is giving me a report, if somebody flashes me a report right now that your nation transparency of media is lower than China, I can see a direct vendetta in his mind that he is just trying to defame a country. For it may be for
may interject something. We're talking about international relations and diplomacy between China and other countries, and therefore China should have warned, China should have done this or that. In 1930s, before Second World War, there were diplomatic relationships between Germany and England and France and Austria and Russia and United States, and just name it. Did it help to avert Second World War? Didn't help anybody in Second World War. Absolutely not. So consider this fact. China is now awash with cash. Trillions of dollars in its coffers, no debts. They have access to the latest technology in the world, the most advanced engineering and technology, and they're just a little bit getting sick and tired of being taught by other countries, including the United States, of what to do and how to do and so on. And they just don't feel that they have to oblige and say, oh, we are sorry, okay, we'll do this, we'll do that. It was like that 20 years ago, and 30 years ago, and 50 years ago, and 75 years ago. No more. Just forget that. It will never come back. Today, China is self-reliant. It's very powerful economically, from militaristic point of view, and nobody's crazy enough to start a serious war against China. That will not happen. And if no wars, then China is not feared of anybody in this universe, period. So that's what you've got. And you have to be very careful and very polite when you're talking about China and its obligation, what they have to do and what they don't have to do. It's really up to them to decide. And they will do only as much as they feel that this is beneficial to them, nobody else in this world.
Mm-hmm. Which is an argument, the reason why Russia should move closer to the United States.
You see, Russia, okay, I'll tell you about
and the United States, India, and Russia should be good friends because there's this big economy growing called China.
United
States economy is self-sustaining really well.
Yeah, but we've
even
really
without Canada and Mexico, but especially in this NAFTA part, United States is doing really well. Now, Canada may not be that well satisfied, and Canada is looking for
Canada gets along with everybody.
But Canada is a small potato. Nobody really cares what they would like to do. You know all that.
It's got a lot of land, no people.
Nick, I want to tell you something very interesting.
Country.
There is a
we should live like good neighbors. Before we can become good friends, because friendship changes every decade. According to the economic situations, according to the world dynamic change. I think post-COVID also there is a dynamic change in the world economics and how we behave and how we deal with other countries, and that's how we have new friends every time.
But
if we have good neighbors, I think that would make much more sense than talking about the global economy, because with your neighbor you can talk about a lot of things, and then that adds value to your global economy. What do you think?
But don't forget about one thing. Ankit, about neighbor. Let me tell you something else. You have to worry about yourself first. And your neighbor has to worry about himself first. So if both neighbors are worrying about themselves and doing well, it means both neighbors are doing well.
Yeah, but it's easier to become neighbors.
If I think about myself, I don't think about my neighbor.
To save another neighbor. No. He will save himself. And then his neighbor also has to save himself. And then both neighbors are doing very well and they're saving themselves.
That's not the case in India.
But see, the thing is, it's easier to become neighbors when you get to know people through the internet, like social media. Like Reina is from Malaysia. I think he's the only person I know in the whole country of Malaysia.
Okay.
I don't know anybody in Malaysia, but now I have a neighbor in Malaysia, Reina, right? Okay. So Reina, how many people do you know in the United States? Tell me.
Yes, actually, I told you from 2009, from my undergraduate times. That time, actually, I engaged with debating community. I attended the World Debating Championship. I told you, in Oxford University and the Cambridge University, I attended for debating championship. So from that times, actually, I engaged with a lot of people, not only from USA, around the world. We have a chance when we go for debating in Oxford Union. So we have a chance, like meet with many countries, people from USA, from Europe, from Asia. So that kind of integrations I have, as well as when I start my jobs. So that times I'm working for United Group. So that times we have integrations with the USA people, we have integration with European Unions, we have integrations with Asian country. So that is the way. From that point of view, I just trying to share, because there is a very good question for like breathing globally and that kind of things. Actually, my point of view as a economical understanding, always I said, every country build up their economy based on their local demand first. It's India build their economy based on their local demands. Even India has brilliant big group of companies. Let's say Tata Group, one of the biggest group of companies in India, right? Even China, first they are actually heavily depend on manufacturing. Okay, from their house, from their small medium enterprise, everywhere they do build up their manufacturing. When they fill up their local demand, then they move to the international arena. In India also same. India producing a lot of intellectual people, right? For lawyers. Even actually my family, all of them actually lawyers, except me. Okay, like India produced a doctor, India produced engineers. Now they are playing a leading role in Silicon Valley, in hospitals, in different countries, even in Malaysia, right? So even in Malaysia is a very good combination of multicultural things. Like we have Bhumiputra, Malaysian local people, we have Chinese, okay, we have Indian peoples, and we have multicultural countries. Even US people in my condominiums, US people, Canadian people, European people, we live together. There are around 10,000 people we live in one condominiums. So different countries. I think if you move and you discuss, I think you at least find 40 different nations we live together. But that is the important things. Why number one, why my expectation high with IBM TV? We need reliable informations. Let's forget like politics first. Like we do not like, we are small people, we love to live peacefully. We do not like too much of politics. We like too much of good relationship. We like good relationship with India. We like good relationship with USA. We like good relation with China. That is the way. In the Malaysia is a good hub. Why I said I do not want to promoting too much. But if you come, if you visit, I'm sure your IBM TV, your chess competition will be very interesting for local community. So even now, many people start observing IBM TV. I try to share with corporations, with the government people, with many people. But issue is that globalization is most important. We have to be connected. Connection create opportunity. So let's forget like politics. Let's forget many kind of corporate control media do. Better we make our individual, we fulfill our individual need. Now we have to survive. Now we have to save my people. Now we have to save my community. So this is not high time who is doing bad, who doing good, who is control information, who is manipulating information. Yes, we will learn. Definitely we will recognize these things. But for the earnest request, those who are best scientists, we need to collaborate. Those who are best doctor, we need to collaborate. Those who are good corporation for social contribution, we need to collaborate. Even those who are good lawyers for our security and corporation, we need to collaborate. Okay, by this ecosystem, we can save many people. Believe me, if we just focus on this media hawks, this, that, we cannot. We need better.
I have a small question from you.
Yes.
I have a small question from you. You are saying that we as a people, we are not interested into politics. We just want to have good relationships. But people who are going to do front end for you into an international relationship or into a diplomatic relationships, they are usually controlled by politicians. And what you are talking with me or what I am talking with Nick, it cannot affect the relationship between my country and his country, because it is being taken and is holded by the leadership, which is political, and by the diplomats, which are also controlled by the politicians. So my suggestion, which is there to you for the inclusion, is to you and me together, everybody. You can just talk to me, I can talk to you, we can talk and we can make an alliance, but we cannot ask our country to sign and get into a bilateral agreement until and unless we ask to do and we elect a government which is going to do that so for you. So the agenda which you need to set here, and not only here but on all platforms, is to choose a government. And in many countries you cannot even choose a government because there is no democracy, there is no voting. So what you are saying is practically impossible.
No, please.
On the ground.
I just want to I want to add, because
can I ask you one thing, Vijit? Do you think there's no voting in China?
Okay.
No, there are
no idea what goes on in
if they
China.
are selecting one party and which is free to do whatever they want to do,